I'm on my third cup of drum roll, quack quack quack. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast episode of the Going Over podcast. I am tired as shit, but jacked up on coffee. Your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. And I'm joined alongside, as always, my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, it's an early morning, and we're coming off the heels of the Reno Wrestle Factory.
That's it, man. Mayhem. I was almost going to say Mayhem Miller, an old UFC fighter, but no, it was. I don't know, man. I'm feeling especially blessed after these shows happen for some reason. Like I don't know, man. The last two shows for me have come off kind of very excited and just thinking highly of what's to come in the future. And so I don't know, man. It's a different time for me in pro wrestling. So I'm just excited, man. I feel like it's coming around with surrounding myself with really good people in the locker room, and um, or maybe it's a combination, right? Good people. I think everybody, good people in general, right? That's the overarching theme. Good people, but it's a good combination of older guys. We were just talking last episode about you know too many Indians, not enough Chiefs. But last night I felt like there was a little bit more, a good combination of people that could lead, people that could follow, hungry young guys that are looking to get better. And I think you're not going to be surprised by this, but I get a message from Eric Dennis, who just messaged me out of the blue, like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Reno. Um, what time do you guys start ring crew?" And I said, "Oh, well, we start at 10 o'clock in the morning." And I'm thinking, there's no way this guy's just going to come, you know, for no reason. He was coming up here with a buddy to visit family or something like that. So he's like, "Yeah, my buddy's going to be hanging out with his friends or whatever. I'll just have him drop me off at 10 o'clock over there." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So the dude helps us out, and then ends up being on the show. And then I get a message from him afterwards, just going, "Hey, great experience. I feel like I learned a lot." And I was like, "Man, I remember the guy just, you were in the ring coaching somebody else. And this dude is just like intently standing on the apron and listening to what you're saying." And I had a conversation with him at that point about how he was learning right now. And I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome." And like, just, a younger guy in the business. We talk about it all the time, like the value of somebody that's going to come and help out, with no expectations, that ends up getting a lot in return, right? So the guy gets to be in a match, um, gets to learn on the fly in that situation, and then gets to kind of listen to you like a free seminar from Zack Reeb. So it was just a great situation, and then just it's nice to see the appreciation uh, very quickly afterwards. Hey, this is a good experience that I had, and I wanted to thank you for it or whatever. So yeah, man, I'm excited about what's going on.
For sure. And every time you say I'm gonna hit you with the reverse knife edge chop. So I owe you 7 right now. No, I'm just playing with you, brother. So for me, what was really cool about last night, we're gonna touch on that because I got a lot of stuff from last night that was some positives, some negatives, and some stuff to learn from. One thing for me, first off, congratulations. I remember you telling me I went out and I put up more posters and flyers than I have in my entire over 20-year career. And I remember telling you I thought it was a bad idea to run a show that wasn't drawing as well the last couple shows, and to run one with less than 3 weeks. And you didn't have the flyer. So you you shut me up in a good way, and you proved me wrong and shoved it right up my ass. And for that, I thank you. I thank you for getting out there. And it's not a like, oh my God, Zack gave me this amazing golden nugget of, hey, if you're going to pay for the posters and flyers, go put them up. You put in the work, and you saw the results last night. It was a hot crowd, and we've been in front of some not hot crowds down there lately. So the guys enjoyed it. I know Sergio, I know Bad News, I know Ethan, I know everybody really enjoyed working in front of a hot crowd. So to you, congratulations, because this is the start of, if you put in the work. I got my Rayshawn Prince shirt on. I'm not going to say who his uncle is because he doesn't like it when I do that, but I am going to say a quote from his uncle right here. You can never complain about what you don't have from the work that you don't put in. So everybody else can do the math on that. But another thing that I wanted to talk about. So congrats to you. I know that's
Zack,
exciting.
I'm going to cut you off real quick, and I'm going to give you a congrats on 1 year of sobriety.
Oh,
fuck yeah, dude! I'm so proud of you, man. It's we're eating at dinner last night, and we get something special brought to the table, and I was like, oh, dude, I'd like that. And you're like, fuck yeah, man, we're celebrating 1 year of sobriety, dude. So fucking congratulations to that.
Thank you, sir. And thank you.
That's hard work too, dude. So
I appreciate that, brother. And the crazy part about it is I've had 4 years of not drinking. I've had 2 years of not drinking, a year and a half, but I've never had a year of recovery with a sponsor in the program. So that means the world to me, man, because like I said, me and you are in this, whether you like it or not, or whether I like it or not, we are now in this battle, this positive battle together. And the thing I wanted to talk about first is we all noticed it. I noticed it. You noticed it. Alex Ace noticed it. And last night we were talking. We had the 7-foot Alex Ace in the locker room. We had out there. We had the 6'10", 7-foot wrecking ball Paul Isadora, and we had the 6'9", 500-pound Bad News Blakesley. And I said, man, we have the 3 biggest guys that have ever been in indie wrestling, minus like Great Khali or someone like that came through the business. The 3 largest men you could possibly have in indie wrestling in under one roof on one night. And me and Alex were talking about how rare that is. And I really thought we missed an opportunity where we should have brought all the young talent together and stood all 3 of you by each other's side and said, hey, this is the biggest guys you're going to face in this business. And I was talking to you, and we were talking to Illumide afterwards, and I thought it was a cool little powwow. But I always wanted to wrestle you. I always want to wrestle Bad News. I always want to wrestle Alex Ace. If you're going to go to that big platform in the sky, man, if you're going to go to the WWE, you're going to eventually, when you get to the Randy Ortons, the John Cenas, the Roman Reigns, you're eventually going to wrestle big guys. So you have to want and be willing to wrestle monster wrestlers. And that's where I want to talk to you real quick. That's the topic I've started with. But one thing I was very impressed with, and you were very impressed with, right out of Stoner U, he goes by the name of Dave Reckoning. And I was very impressed by a guy that didn't even bat an eyelash at wrestling a guy who was 6'9", 500 pounds. He had a smile on his face. He went into working one of your young students in a squash match with no complaints. He was all smiles working with a guy like Bad News Blakesley. And I just thought in my head, and when he got in the ring, he wasn't fazed by being in there with a guy that big. He wasn't trying to do stuff that he shouldn't be doing. And it's my kudos to this guy is it's very rare in this business that you're going to find a guy, especially so young, that that is willing and unfazed to wrestle guys of your stature, Bad News and Ace's stature. So first off, what did you think about having the big guys, all three of the big guys under the same roof? And what did you think of this Dave Reckoning guy for, I mean, he 2 matches, man, 2 matches. He's got to pull that mic from his mouth a little bit, but what did you think about that guy?
Oh, it's well. I mean, we talked about it already last night, dude. Like just how I was impressed, and I told him to his face as well. Like just, I was impressed with first of all the squash match. Right, we've beat that into the ground about how a squash match should go, and people don't do them anymore, and um, just the importance of it, right? And to tell the story of you're introducing this dude, uh, big, imposing guy, right? Just menacing, I think is a good term, you know. And I think it's a perfect example that you said he's not phased by wrestling a big dude because it's not like he's 7 feet tall and it's not like this guy's 300 pounds, but this dude is like a fucking brick shithouse, like a thick dude, right? You could tell that spends time in the gym. He looks kind of like a power lifter type physique. Just I don't know, a thick dude. So, and then I go, hey, you're gonna squash this guy, a new student of ours, and uh, you know, I'm thinking 2 minutes, and I said, don't give him any offense, right? He said, absolutely, no problem, I got that. Um, and then after that, you're gonna cut a promo and then you're gonna wrestle Bad News. Okay, cool, man. Like, what are you thinking about that? And I laid that out for him. Yep, no problem. I got it. So I don't know, man. It was good to see. It's and like you said, Ben, you got a young guy, obviously understands the business. And he's basically said, hey, I saw you wrestle Luster at next level, right? And I remember you were there. Boyce was, like the guys that I respect the most after that match are going, hey, fucking hell of a job, right? You guys killed it out there. And that was when this kid said he saw me. So I was like, okay, so I think that's what obviously recently that's my best match. And I'm thinking, okay, so this guy got to see the big guy and then Luster, fairly big guy, and how that dynamic went together. And it's I don't know, it was exciting to watch the kid and just how he presented himself and things like that. So yeah, super impressed. I really enjoyed having him on the card. I told him afterwards I'd like to have him back, and if we can figure out a spot whenever he's available, and we'll kind of see how that goes. If it's I'd love to be back again soon. Let it breathe, whatever it is. I like the kid, and I'm sure it's somebody that a lot of other people should be using.
Yeah, good job by Derek and Dustin down there at Stoner U on this kid, man. Humble. Listen, I gave him a little bit of critique. I said bump and feed a little faster. He was on that. I forgot to even tell him to pull the mic away from his mouth because it was just in passing that I threw that at him. Another thing I wanted to talk about from last night was Sergio Santana. Especially me, I ride in the car with the guy. I was talking about how love him to death, man, and how impressive I was always with his promo and his heat. Best leadoff man in the game, the old Ricky Henderson, right? And he wasn't the leadoff man last night. And that was the first time that I've seen him. And that Kate Adams, man, what a bumper, what a seller. I mean, this kid gets his body together. He's going to go somewhere. I've always thought he was going to go somewhere. He's just getting his body together, put together, and it doesn't have to get big. It can just tighten it up. That kid is such a good seller, and you don't really notice because then you see some of Sergio's matches, and they're more geared towards entertainment and working the audience, and then you see this kid out there just selling and bumping, and even in his strikes offensively selling for him. So I wanted to also off of that, I wanted to talk about the importance of the young talent out there That's what I'm looking for. I know when you come back, that's another thing you'll be looking for. I think Boyce LeGrand, Rick Luxury, Luxury had a good one with Arsonist. So for us as the older guys, man, that are winding down on our career and we're starting to see this young talent. One thing that I'm looking for is a young guy. Like last night, I was really impressed with the guy I wrestled, which I'll talk about and give him his kudos for sure. But I am looking for young talent who's not afraid to go to the top rope, who's not afraid to take some risk, and who's not afraid to bump for me and do that. And in turn, I will bump back for you and do all that stuff. But man, I really felt like Kate Adams really made Sergio not just look good as the heel and cutting the promo, but he made him look so good in the ring as a performer. I saw Sergio on a different level last night. And what are your thoughts? And out there to all these young kids, we got all these young kids that are wrestling and they're so hungry. What are your thoughts on what I just said on looking for young talent to work with that definitely aren't afraid to take a high school boy bump or a snap bump for us?
Yeah, it's something that you really uh, you just enjoy it because I feel like it's so few and far between. You have so many people that want to get their shit in, and I was talking to Alex Ace about that as well. About saying no to some people because you're afraid that people are going to say, "Oh, this guy's a dick. He's hard to work with," instead of putting in perspective, like, "Hey, I'm just trying to tell this story and protecting my size." So when you talk about guys that will take some bumps for you, make you look good, and you have a perfect point with Sergio. Normally, this guy starts the show off, gets the crowd riled up, things like that. And to see him in a different light last night and see his work rate, which I thought was very good, uh, especially since you said the introduction from him was him sending you a match where he was the job guy. That was just a few minutes long, and but you got to see that he's willing to do what we're talking about as well. He's willing to get that guy over by getting his ass kicked. So to see it on the other end here, where you tell this good story about a kid who was on top of the world, he's the champion of your company, and now he's gotten beat, and his promise to the fans is, I'm going to come back better. I'm going to be working my ass off. I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to be the best version of myself. And I'm going to climb that ladder and I'm going to get back to where I was. And I'm going to take my rightful place back at the top of the card. And then having Sergio come out and, cut the promo that he goes, if you want me to get personal, I'll get personal, So he's like, he's giving me this like warning, hey, what the promos that you've seen me cut are entertaining, but if you want me to really fucking dig at this guy, I'll really dig at him, you know. So I just think the story that it told with the promo of really, playing this guy like, hey, you're not doing what you promised these fans you would do, getting in shape and being the best version of yourself, just added to the story, So, and then getting to see him as the heel that's like inflicting damage and just trying to wear a guy down, and then the story, we watched the match already together, the three of us. So, and giving them feedback on it, like, hey, do you hear the crowd right here as they're coming up? That's when this cutoff should have happened. You let it go too far. They got, when finally the cutoff happened, the crowd was already on the way down. So
Mhm.
just being able to give those little tweaks, but when I was watching it live, to me it felt like it was the right pacing. Like, I'm like, hey, the crowd's coming up right here, and it fed right into a cutoff, which I was like, okay, so they're taking the fans on the ride. So I was in the moment. Obviously we talk about this all the time. Like in the moment, things seem really awesome and it went perfect. But then as we break them down, it's like, oh, this could have happened 15 seconds before that, and it's like, it's those. It's a game of inches. Sometimes you say that, right? So in that case, it was really cool to be able to listen to the breakdown afterwards, and as we're all listening to the crowd on there, and it's like, okay, so you can hear the peak of the crowd, which is when this should have happened, but it happened just a little bit down the road a little bit. So seeing that and just seeing, you don't see very many moves from Sergio, and to see a few little things in there, the belly to belly, and just how clean things are, and obviously it's a testament to Kate Adams as well, selling ability,
Oh, for sure.
and I hear the little terms, right, that mean a lot to me, the offensive selling, right, and some people have no idea what that means because um it sounds backwards. It's like, you're not selling on offense. It's like, sure you are, because you were just getting your ass kicked. So you're still selling what was happening to you, even though you're on the offensive. And that was the one feedback thing that I gave to our student in the squash match. It's like, hey, you got this little window of opportunity, and then you went from 0 to hero. Like, you weren't hurt from getting your ass kicked for 2 minutes. So it just, I don't know. You see the two spectrums of a brand new guy that you have to remind, hey, even when you're on offense, you still were getting your ass kicked. So you need to still register that, show that a little bit, and then seeing another student of ours that's further on in the business, a couple more years in, and how he does offensively sell.
I just noticed episode 49. It says John Rocker. What does that even mean? In
I
John?
literally just that's John Rocker's number, his jersey number.
Okay.
But I literally just watched a special on John Rocker last night. The
I
guy
was like, what the fuck is? I know who he is from the Atlanta Braves, the old wild left-hander. But you were talking. Okay, so with Sergio, we were talking about Cade Adams deserves some. Yeah, he does. Cade's great, and the story can go one way. If the kid, he has to get his body in shape because he promised the fans. So if he doesn't, he lets them down. And he can go a different direction if he lets them down. He can go more geared towards a villain. But if he doesn't let them down, if everything that he says, if he gives to the fans, then they get behind him. And maybe they don't. I mean, that's the cool part about pro wrestling. And with Sergio, one thing I told him was bump. You got to bump better. You got to get your feet up on the bump. This kid's bumping all over the place for you. So the few bumps you have to take, you have to make him look good too. You can't make him look like shit when it's time for him to get some offense. One thing I wanted to talk about, which was I always preach on this, and last night the guys were like, yeah, I know, we're sorry. And I'm like, no, I'm wrong. And I'm now going to admit I'm wrong twice in this program. So in the tag match with Dreamy Drew and the MILF Hunter versus Brandon Nash and, bad man Eric Dennis, who actually got on the card. That's one of the ways to get booked. The way he did it, we talked about two ways. Sergio could send us a 5-minute match because we're not going to watch too much of it, and we get you booked that way, or you just show up and do ring crew and pay your dues, and then a spot opens up. So there's a couple ways really to get booked if you don't know anybody too, because we've seen both ends of them. But I always talk about when the heel in the tag match goes over and hits the babyface on the apron and lures him in the ring, and the referee gets in the way. I always talk about that's where you put the heat on the guy, right? That's where you put the heat on the guy. And I saw something last night, and as I'm talking to these guys and they're standing around me in the locker room, they're like, yeah, sorry, we didn't put the heat on him. I said, no, you guys actually showed me something that I didn't realize. Because MILF Hunter rolled up Brandon Nash while the ref was distracted. The baby face rolled up the heel that knocked the baby off the apron, and he had him rolled up and there's no referee, and he gets off and he turns around and turns the babyface, turns the ref around when he's undistracted and says, "Hey man, I had him pinned right here. What were you doing?" And the heel cuts the babyface off. And I was like, "Oh my God." And you pointed that out to me. And I went, now I have something that I've been so caught up in this same cookie cutter way of getting heat that I miss the baby's false, you know what I mean? The baby's shine in that moment where the baby can turn around at the ref and be like, "Hey, what are you doing? I had this guy." And the ref goes, "Sorry, man, I was getting your partner out of the ring." And he gets cut off by the heel. And in turn, that creates heat. So that was very eye-opening for me last night. And sometimes even when you're watching some dog shit, and I'm not saying that was dog shit, but sometimes when you're even watching some dog shit, something can happen in front of you and you can go, "Oh, I like it. There's another way to do that." So those guys actually opened my mind up yesterday to like, "Oh, there's a different way." And I really love that fact that I got to see that and smarten my brain up last night.
Right, and I was telling you right after that happened, I like that from the heel side as well, which I think is always funny. Like, you have your heel partner come in almost like you're trying to double team, and the referee catches him and pushes him out, and the heel gets rolled up as well. So instead of coming in as the heel and double teaming the guy, you're getting turned around and you're getting rolled up as the heel as well. So I feel like you could do that both ways, and I thought it was like kind of just like you said, a little eye opening. You're like, "What the fuck are they doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's making perfect sense." And you're like, "Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So, Joe's getting them.
We have to, right? Like, we have to admit when we see things that are good, and we have to admit when we're wrong, and that's okay to do. Like, I never came on here to say I'm right about everything. Just when I'm talking about certain topics, I'm trying to help people get better. So it's not just my opinion on it; it's a fact that I'm stating. Like, okay, this is why we're doing this and where we're going. And last night, just a little nugget was thrown at me that I visually watched, and I was like, "Hey, this isn't what I normally see," but oh my God, ding, woo, the light bulb goes off, and you're like, "Oh, now I'm going to come up with so many different little tiny scenarios for the baby face in that type of situation." And that's something that when we talked with Adam on here about tag team wrestling and the Ballard brothers about tag team wrestling, we had three of the greatest tag team wrestlers on here. I would consider myself a great tag team wrestler. You've done a lot of tag team wrestlers. And that scenario we saw last night with three very young guys in the business and a guy that's been kind of journeying around for a while. And it happened on the fly. Nobody called that. And that's what I'm trying to say is, like, if you go out there and work and cut a good pace organically and do that type of stuff, you can actually, it gives you a chance to creatively work out there and paint your own mural, man. So that was one of the things I took from last night. And I'm like, wow, man, you guys just taught me something. You guys are standing around me like, "Please give me feedback. Please give me feedback." And I'm like, "Hey guys, you taught me something tonight." And I think they were kind of blown away, taken back by it. They're like, "Hey, we're sorry we didn't." I'm like, No. Don't be sorry, man. You did something amazing tonight, and you don't even know that you did something amazing. You think I'm going to shit on you, and I'm sitting here going, "No, that was a thing of fucking beauty, man." That's, and one thing I wanted to talk about that match too, and this is for all you young ring announcers out there, is during the match, Dreamy Drew's running back up and down the apron, and he's doing what the guy is supposed to do on the apron to make the tag for the baby faces, and he's really working that corner. You even said it. You said, "Undertaker, baby, Dreamy Drew's really working that corner," and he's got the crowd up. And right before the tag happens, The ring announcer says, "Ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes have elapsed in this contest. And the tag is made." Well, the crowd comes down because they hear something else. So they're doing this, and then they hear the ring announcer say something, and they're like, "What'd he say? Oh, there's a tag?" Well, guess what you just did? You just fucking killed these guys' hot tag that they've been building up for, man. And it's like, you ring announcers out there, if 5 minutes have elapsed in the contest and a comeback or a hot tag is about to happen or something important, just don't say it yet. You don't need to. Nobody knows 5 minutes is really passed in this contest. Don't need to do that.
I just like how you're like, 5 minutes doesn't have to be 5 minutes, right? This is pro wrestling where we're making the rules. It just reminds me of the, hey, we're doing this Royal Rumble style battle royal, which is cool, man, because that way we can gimmick it, or what was it? That way, well, I don't remember what the term was, but it was basically like that way we can fix it, or and I was just like, what do you mean, dude? This is pro wrestling, bud. Everything is work, It's like,
Well, I love it, right? Like there's so many good people in pro wrestling, and it's usually the good people. It's usually the good people that do a lot for the business that you go to tell the mistake they made, and they have no they're not very receptive of something simple you're telling them. Like last night, I had a great time and a great match with Jeffrey Excellence, man. Great physique, good kid, man. I've seen him around the business a long time, and I'm finally working this kid, man. And it was just it was just such a pleasurable experience when I went up to him and started talking to him, and I said, "Hey, I noticed you run around this ring and really get the crowd going." I said, "I'm gonna roll out of the ring when you come." And we were pointing at like he just understood everything. And then he kept coming up to me going, "Well, what about this? What about?" And I'm like, "Oh man." Because then when somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, how about I keep my pants on?" So then oh yeah, that's good. I'll keep my vest on since we're hot, we're hot starting this thing like that. And I'm ambushing you. How about I keep this on? Now we both he's got his pants on, I got my shirt on. And I want to give Jeffrey Excellence, true professional, man. I want to give him kudos because, we get to this point in the match where the ref goes down and everything's just working, and the other ref comes out way too fucking early, right? And we just kept going through. I even had to kick out of the guy's finish, but we just rolled through it like nothing, right? Like we're in the ring having the conversation, and I'm like, "You fucking moron! What? You fucked everything." And now I even told him when I'm getting covered after his finish, while the referee's counting, I'm like, "Hey, dude," I even told him, I said, "Hey, I got to kick out of your finish." He's like, I know. So I kick out, and then I look at the ref, and I'm like, "What are you doing, dude? Why are you doing this?" And I wanted to go back, and I wanted to talk about this because we talk about the ring announcer fucking up someone's hot tag, right? And we talk about this referee just completely shitting on my finish. Great guys. And then you go to tell him this. And I even told the ref, I was like, "Hey, man, you came out like a minute and a half too early, dude. You completely fucked this thing off." And he says, "I don't think I came. I came right out." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, you just don't get it, man." Like, and I told him, I said, I take this serious, man. This is a big deal to me. So it's not a knock on the ring announcer. It's not a knock on the referee as who you are or what I think about you as a human being. It's, brother, we put a lot of work and time and 26 years into this business, and this is our passion in our life, and you're just shitting on it. You're just shitting on it. And that's one thing that just I will not stand for, and not even in like, "Man, I'm gonna beat you up" or anything, but it's just like, "Hey, man, you cannot do these things." So when I tell you what you did and you blow it off, you got to get a couple of those. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's so important, man. Like, hey, if I tell you something that you did that was really real, we're talking about how we're trying to build hot tags and teach these guys, right? So when some young guys are out there, really young guys, and they built the hot tag, and you kill it, say, hey, man, I'm sorry, my bad. Thanks for letting me know. Because if you knew, you wouldn't have done it, right? And for Larry, well, there I went. I went and blew his name accidentally. For Tommy, the ref, old man Tommy, it's like, man, just don't make an excuse right here. You messed up. We covered it. The fans didn't know it happened. But now if this is television, right? And this is what I was telling you. If this is television and you make a mistake like that, you don't ever work for this company again. And if you're a ring announcer and it's television or big time and you make a mistake like that and you kill the Hardy Boys hot tag on a pay-per-view because you're fired. So it's not that I'm trying to like hammer on somebody and say, man, you're a piece of shit. It's that I'm saying, hey, when you tell somebody something, when I tell somebody something, when Ugly tells somebody, Choopy, Rick, Boyce, whoever, if we're telling somebody something, we're not telling them that to stroke our ego. We're saying, hey, man, that's unacceptable. You can't do that. So you made the mistake right there. Don't make it again moving forward. And it's going to better you as the ring announcer. It's going to better you as the ref if you take our criticism, constructively. Sorry.
Exactly. No, you know what? That leads perfectly into another conversation that I had yesterday, and that was asking someone, "What are you thinking about whatever this situation was in a match?" And I said, "You have to understand that I'm not saying what the fuck are you thinking, like you fuck something up and I'm pissed off or whatever. I'm literally asking your opinion of this scenario. Like, what were you thinking in there? Tell me why it makes sense in your mind so I can understand also. It's not like, hey, you're wrong and I'm right. It's like I want you to explain to me what your mindset is. Why are you doing this? So then I can understand why it makes sense in your story for that to happen. And I don't remember who it was right now for some reason, but it was one of those things. It's like, hey, I'm asking these questions, and like I remember at the Young Lions Cup asking questions to guys about what they were doing and why they think it makes sense. Explain to me, convince me why it makes sense, and that goes into that little the spot in the tag match where you were talking about rolling the guy up with the referee's back turned, and that doesn't make sense. That's when you should be putting the heat on the baby face. And then once it's like this is why it makes sense, you go, oh fuck yeah, that's right, it does make sense like that.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to understand that, and we talked at nauseum about this podcast and our vision of what we're trying to do. And it's never trying to tear people down. It's always trying to lift people up. It's like, hey, I saw this, and this is how I would do it differently. Or, hey, you did this, and it didn't look very good, and this is why. And it's always the goal is always to learn, right? Hey, this is a learning experience. I'm trying to help you teach a lesson. And a lot of times, well, maybe not a lot of times, but at least sometimes we're trying to teach a lesson and something like you were just explaining happens where you go, oh, fuck, I learned something there
Mhm.
rather than I'm telling you you did something wrong. I'm going, hey, actually, you did something really good, and this is why. So then it turns into a learning experience on the other end of that. Instead of you saying, hey, you should have done this, you say, hey, because you did this, this is what happened, and it was a good thing. So I think in those situations, you get back to the referee coming in early, and I mentioned this to you as well. It's like, so now this finish, and well, let's put it in a television situation or some sort of big storyline. It's like, oh, so now just a regular guy in a regular match kicks out of the finish. So then now it's not as believable that it can be a finish down the road, It could have been something that this guy was building up. Nobody kicks out of this. And in the case where nobody kicks out of it and the referee's down and now the crowd is counting, right?
Yes.
The crowd is all in unison counting and they get up to 10 or 11 or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the replacement referee runs in. And then now, of course, we're already 15 seconds in to this cover after the finish. Of course, you're going to kick out because now it's not just a 3 count. This is a 20 count now. And I was talking to someone else about that type of thing as well. It was talking to Alex Ace. You know, we were talking about like not covering a guy in a match, and he's like, "Oh well, it's because I don't want it to be like I hit him with a big move. It should be the finish, and if I cover him and he kicks out, it makes me look weak." And I was trying to explain to him like, there's so many different ways you could do that. From talking from the commentator on your show, I'm trying to tell him the perspective of the commentary. Like, if I can make an excuse for why that pin didn't happen, and I do it all the time. Didn't put all your body weight onto the shoulders, didn't hook the leg. There's so many different things, right? That makes sense. And I think that maybe that was the conversation, was how to make sense of things and explain to me why you're doing this. And I think that was the conversation. Why are you not trying to pin people? Because the goal is to win a professional wrestling match. And the way that you do that is by pinning a guy's shoulders to the mat and trying to win, right? So I think he was trying to justify it, right? Well, this is the reason that I don't do that. So then I started trying to give him some ideas, like in his case, Illuminate was on the offensive. So it's like, if you hit him with something, big move or not, and he goes down, you can still offensively sell for 5, 6, 10 seconds, whatever. And then you cover him and he kicks out. And it's like, yeah, you hit him with a big move, but you also sold for 6 or 7 seconds before you covered him. And maybe it's also a lazy cover. So from
the lazy cover does it.
Yeah, so from the commentary portion of that, or from a fan's perspective, you go, oh shit, he totally would have won if he would have just fill in the blank, whatever it is, good lateral press, hook the leg, whatever it is, you can justify it, So in those cases, that kind of goes back into the how do you work as a big guy, and in that case, it's like you're just getting beat up a little bit. You hit something that potentially, like we talk about the big boot that he throws, unique. It's left-footed. It looks like it takes your head off. All these things, and we talk about that could be a finish, right? You could beat someone with that move right there. And I told him that I was like, man, you hit that big left-footed boot. You could cover a guy after that, but you could make it nonchalant, right? You're the heel. You just lay on the guy. You don't hook the leg. You put the fist up in the air like it's over. Obviously, I don't even have to hook this dude's leg. I'm so confident, or I'm so conceited that I think that's the finish. Nobody's kicking out of it, so you don't put any effort into the cover, and the guy's able to squeak a shoulder out. Especially Illuminate, who's a muscular, strong dude, resilient. So.
Well, that's the problem too, man. It's we talk about this all the time. People don't take criticism well. People can't have a conversation well because they take to the defense of the conversation like you're burying them. And you're talking about that cover, it's just simple fact of like, oh, I didn't cover him right? So he kicked out. I did a lazy cover. I didn't hook the leg. And I keep going back to last night. I was doing everything in my power to make sure the guy that had won the trophy and was supposed to get the title shot came out on top. I was like, that fall with the referee, that whole thing was set up so that it showed he had me beat. So he had beaten me. So he's over right there. Oh, this move, he had me beat. Oh, here comes the ref, kicked out. So we were protecting his finish, and we were protecting him as the winner. And then with the referee coming too, because the ref coming out so fast, he even made the other referee go from having to no sell my finish and sit up like the Undertaker and stop his count. And then it pisses me off when that stuff happens, because it's like we're trying to protect this guy, and we're also trying to tell the story, which is really the only story right now that we have going on this program. And just one person just can mess all that up. He can bury the guy that we're trying to build as the baby face to be the champion, and he can bury the heel and the referee. Like in this one match, we're telling the story of this referee and this wrestler to build this. We have a story going on, and we're also building the number one contender for the main event to take on the champion who wasn't there. So we're telling two important things. We're telling the best story that we're telling on the show, and we're building the biggest baby face that's over as hell to go towards the heel champion for the main event. And just negligence, man. Just negligence on the part of one human being can mess all this up. And that's why I say it's so important is you just got your biggest house in a while, right? So if you're promoting, if this is 3-4 shows down the road and the building's full and the people are coming in and they're digging this story and they're getting behind this baby face, and somebody comes out there, just you have to know what you're doing. That's why the Sparky Ballards, that's why the Chico Lopez, the Karina Kyles, that's why these referees, and I don't know many other referees. Like, I really don't. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of good referees across NorCal that I don't know who they are. Let me know who you are. I asked Sparky when he was on here. But that's why the referee is so important and so vital to what we're doing, because you need the referees to understand you're just as big a part of this finish as the guys laying in the ring are. And we go back to this every time. Like, man, if I tell you to hand me that piece of pizza over there and you hand me a boot, I'm going to look at you like a shoe. I'm going to look at you and go, all right, man, I can't talk with you. I can't have you. You don't know the difference between a piece of pizza and a boot. You're a dipshit, or, and when you explain it to them and I get offended, not by the person personally, but I get offended by people who are willing to just come in the locker room and just like, yeah, whatever. I know I'm in this locker room with a bunch of professionals that are trying to really build something here, but like, no, man, don't fuck my shit up because you don't know what's going on. And I'm going to harp on this all day long. And this is about one incident, but I see it so many times and we just like kind of brush it off. We're like, no biggie. No, it is a big deal because we're all trying to get everybody, SPW, East Bay Pro, Revolution, WCW. I mean, everybody, your company, my company, next level, everybody's trying to get their companies to a level where this is a living, right? Like this is bigger than, just some show. And there's people in the process, and it's not just the referees, it's managers, it's wrestlers, it's people in the back. There's just so many people that are that are around that they don't care. And they don't think like, oh, well, who cares? Not a big deal. And it's like, well, that's why, because they get away with it. And it is a super big deal. It's a super big deal. And I am super fucking pissed about this, Paul.
it's crazy that we think about some of these things that in in the big scheme of things you look at it and go, oh, it's not, oh, it's just one mess up, it's not a big deal. But when you break it down and you talk about the whole storyline kind of revolving around this particular match and the things that you're trying to accomplish, being multiple fold. Not only are we trying to work on this storyline, but we're also trying to elevate this guy and this other storyline, and it all ties together. Then it becomes a much bigger deal where it's a it's important, and I totally understand when it's your passion. This is you know 26 years of your life doing this, but how many years prior to that were you watching wrestling, booking wrestling, things like that? Like how much of your lifetime has gone into this whole since year
5 years
five?
old,
uh
5 years of
so
age, man. You know
yeah,
it.
so I just think it's like you think about all those things. I mean, I remember, booking storylines with my wrestling figures as a young kid. So it's, in some cases, it's, I'm been involved in this for a short amount of time versus this guy that's been, engulfed in this professional wrestling thing for years and years. Uh, and maybe you think of it, you take it lightly. And I had a conversation with a guy the other last night. He was talking about wanting to come train, and I said, yeah, it's crazy because countless times you have the conversation with people about pro wrestling, and they say, yeah, you know what, I used to watch that when I was a kid, then I grew out of it, right? And then the more you talk to them, the more comfortable they get with you, and they go, you know what? It's okay to talk about wrestling with this guy because he loves wrestling. So then they start talking to you, and you go, you're talking about shit that's happening on TV right now. So you just told me that you don't watch wrestling anymore. You outgrew it. But as I'm talking to you further, you're still fucking watching it right now. You're
Hmm.
watching this on TV. But it's that stigma, right? That you don't want to tell people that you're a wrestling fan. And I think that leads into, you talked about flyering and giving people posters and trying to sell people tickets and things like that. And I think people, even though they're training to be a wrestler, they watch wrestling, they love wrestling, they're not willing to go out there and tell someone else that, hey, you should buy a ticket to this wrestling show because it's fucking awesome, man. I love it.
What was
And
the word that was used?
what was that?
Remember, you were talking about selling it, but he didn't do
Oh,
it.
it's like, yeah, they wouldn't bite on it, or they
Yeah,
wouldn't.
that it wouldn't bite.
It was almost like you're trying to sell something, sell a banned product, or you're trying to talk someone into buying something that's snake oil or something. It's like,
Illegal narcotic.
right,
No,
you're
try
trying to,
my weed. Try my weed, man. Nah, I got a weed guy.
right, exactly. It's just, I was blown away. It's like, dude, if you're trying to sell people tickets to wrestling, tell them why you love it. Why are you going to the show, right? If you're a wrestling fan, why would you miss this show? This isn't some scam that you're like, hey, right? Hey, you want to buy a wrestling ticket? It's like,
He's got
nah,
this
man.
guy printed him out himself, and he's trying to sell them to us, make some money.
Right. It's like,
There's
I
no
don't
show.
quite understand the mindset of that. It blew me away. Like, hey, you could potentially make some money by selling these tickets, and then you can come and train to be a pro wrestler because it's your dream. But I find it so many times that that's the thing. It's like, oh, sorry, man, I couldn't get anyone to buy tickets. It's like, well, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, aren't you talking to your friends, coworkers, and stuff like that? You're probably wearing wrestling shirts to work, and you're probably wearing wrestling shirts outside, and you're probably on your social media talking about you're a pro wrestler and all these different things. It's like, how do you expect to be a good pro wrestler if you can't convince someone that this is a good thing to do? Are you pointing at the clock? Right here, that there's only
5 minutes
5.
remain.
So yeah, I just, some of those things are frustrating, right? It's like you have a goal that you're looking to accomplish, but you're not willing to do anything it takes to achieve that goal, and it's just, you think about, obviously for me, the playing professional basketball is kind of the ultimate thing for me as far as the explanation of setting a goal and doing anything you can, whether it's I'm gonna sell prized possessions to pay for a high dollar camp that I need to go to get exposure, or in pro wrestling, going to a training school that's gonna, has connections that can help me do what I need to do. Getting a gym membership, working out, looking like a pro wrestler. You think about all these different things that go into making this dream a reality, and then you think about the small things that you're not willing to do to get there. And it's frustrating for sure.
It's frustrating, but it's life. And there's a lot of people. The comparison is, I'm not going to go practice this week. I'm going to avoid practice, whether it's football, basketball in high school, but I'm going to show up at that fucking game on Friday night. I'm going to pad up in the locker room, and I'm going to do the cheers and pat the helmets and run out to the music. And I'm from Marysville Indians. We blew off the cannon at War Memorial when they came out for football. And everybody wants to be part of the results, right? They want the results of your hard work, but they don't want to go along the journey. And I tell this to people all the time, is like, there's so much you need to be working on this, not just when you show up to the training, right? Like, that's the best advice I give people. The things I show you, do you know how many times in my life I've been in, whether it be at lunch or in between something I was doing on the production line, that I'm working on? I'm just working on my movement. You know what I mean? Like you told me yesterday, my punches were weak. And now I'm pissed off. I'm like, man, I thought I put out a good performance. And then you slide the phone in front of me at the blind or the blonde onion. And I'm like, fuck, what a promoter, man. He already got my match right here. And I'm watching the match. So I'm like, all right, cool. And we get to the punch spot. And I'm like, well, distance was a little spread, but I'm like, no, last punch was shit. And you're like, well, I thought all 3 punches were shit. And I'm like, well, nope, you're wrong. The first 2 punches, the first punch was good. The second punch was passable. Third punch was shit. And in my head, I go, okay, I'm happy with my performance, even through all the shit that happened. And I go, if all 3 of my punches would have been like my last punch, then you're right. And I'm pissed off about this. And it was nice to talk to JMM yesterday. And what he said about my punches, because I brought that up, I was so insecure about that. I was like, yeah, Paul said, I'm like, what do you think of my match? He's like, oh, it was great, man. He's like, yeah, your work is great. That's why I want to wrestle you again, because we both get it like this. And I go, what do you think of my punches? Paul said they were weak. And he goes, they were a little dainty. And I go, dainty? Paul said they're weak. JMM said they're fucking dainty. I'm like, oh my God. So now you know what I'm going to do today, here in just a few short hours when I show up at class. Motherfuckers are getting punched. And I'm not going to punch people, because I know when I punch them, it looks good. They're going to block. We're going to block punches today, all because of you, asshole. But that's the thing. Before we close this out with less than a minute left in this conversation, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to take that constructive criticism. Make sure that you know what's going on thoroughly before you run out there to do anything or make an announcement. Or, if you don't know, ask us. That's why we're here, man. That's why we spend so much time with these guys. And congratulations once again on that to you for finally getting out there and getting the results. Thank you for congratulating me on 365 days of recovery. Paul, you got anything we want to throw at him real quick?
Not much, man. We got the Winnemucca Run Amuck show coming up this Memorial Day weekend. So that'll be a
we
blast.
do. You don't.
All right, man. For you and me, we're out of here, man.
Going over.